Pardon the interruption, but I'm Michael Wilbon. Tony, Brandon Marshall announced his new contract on The View. You ever reveal anything to Barbara Walters?
I'm Tony Kornheiser. Only my feeling that we should see other people.
Whoa, yeah. Sounds like you were commitment phobic. You couldn't stand commitment to Babs, huh?
Do you know that she actually retired on Friday? That was her last.
Did she really?
Yes,
that was it?
85 years old, an unbelievably fabulous career. Earlier in the week, she gathered all these newswomen around her who basically she mentored. It was terrific. It was a terrific show. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Kevin Love's future, Robert Mathis's fertility, and California Chrome's nasal strips. But we begin today with the Indiana Pacers soundly beating the Miami Heat. If you had watched Indiana at home against Atlanta and Washington, you would not have expected this. Miami shot over 50% and still lost, and it was never close. Wilbon, you're in Indianapolis.
Yep.
Should the Heat just shrug this off, or is this a significant development?
Well, Tony, it's a significant development. Anytime you lose a game in the playoffs, I think, that sounds like some coaching bromide. But I will say this. Miami knows it has to make changes. Eric Spoelstra was talking about that as he left the building last night. And those changes start with going big, not going small. Getting Chris Bosh and Birdman Anderson on the court at the same time, probably getting Udonis Haslem in there. You cannot go small against Indiana's natural lineup. You cannot have LeBron James playing in back of David West defensively. LeBron James has to be on one of the star players, on Paul George or Lance Stevenson. I don't know where that idea came from, but they have to make adjustments. But I expect them to make adjustments.
Yeah, I expect them to win. I expect Miami to win Game 2. I expect Miami to win the series. Miami has lost Game 1 of playoff series 4 times and come back 4 times, and I believe swept the team out in 4 straight in all of those times. So I expect
3 out of 4. 3 out of 4.
I expect that to happen. On the other hand, what this reminded me of was, that sometimes there'd be a heavyweight championship fight, and the heavyweight champion would be very highly regarded. In the second or third round, a punch would come in and knock him on his can. And he would get up and go, whoa, okay, so I'm in this for the long haul. Because I think we've discussed this, that Indiana looked terrible against Atlanta and Washington. Those were like biblical abominations. But Indiana, Mike, has waited for this series all year. And in this series, I think we both expect a better effort than we've seen.
We do. And, Tony, I'm going to give you credit for this because you thought this series was going to be tougher. I thought it'd be like a 6 on the tough meter. I know you thought it'd be an 8 or a 9 on the tough meter. And I think what we saw yesterday, too, was that Miami gets Indiana's attention.
Yes.
It's not, a sub-500 Atlanta team. It's not a playoff neophyte Washington Wizards team. This is Miami. And they know, the Pacers know, if they had walked in there yesterday with some B- or C+ game, they'd have gotten their doors blown off. And they paid with attention to detail like they did in November and December.
That's
and they passed crisply, and they got Hibbert going early.
Here's what would concern me if I were Miami. I don't think they have to win Game 2, because I think if they go to the last 3 games 2-2, I think they're fine. But if they lose Game 2, again, don't think they will, Indiana has won 4 straight playoff games on the road. Okay, so I don't think you can simply discount them. And now this may be, Mike, this may be the best we will ever see them in Game 1. They may never be this good again, but they were good.
They haven't played well back-to-back, particularly at home, but Miami's not going to shoot threes that poorly, and there's not going to be a 20-plus free throw disparity in favor of Indiana, not the way coaches lobby officials and the way these games work in the very next game. The Western Conference Finals kick off in a few hours, and the dynamic of the series figures to have changed greatly before it even starts because of that leg injury sidelining OKC's Serge Ibaka. Some Spurs players are questioning whether Ibaka's really going to be out. Now, OKC went 4-0 against the Spurs in the regular season. Tone, does this Ibaka injury to you change everything?
I don't want to marginalize Ibaka. I understand he's a good player. I understand all that. Oklahoma City is about 2 guys, about Kevin Durant, it's about Russell Westbrook. Those are the guys that play the piano. Everybody else, including Ibaka, they carry the piano. That's their deal. When those games are won and lost by Oklahoma City, it's because of something Durant and Westbrook did. Again, not marginalizing them, but I'm not sure that this is doom. I'm not.
Tony, I'm waiting. I'm trying to wait. It's one of those deals where I want to see a quarter of this series, just a quarter. But I don't want to say it's doomed, but it hurts him, I think, more than you're feeling. I think that Ibaka, not only can he hit the jump shot that is critical for Westbrook and Durant to thrive, particularly when they do share the ball, which, as you point out, is not all the time. He is the best defender on the team. And he's the guy who keeps Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili away from the basket. And without Serge Ibaka, I don't think that even with Reggie Jackson, if he plays well, I don't think they can keep Tony Parker and Ginobili away from the basket.
And maybe
I think that's a big problem.
Maybe they can. And I like San Antonio. I'm the first to admit I'm surprised at how good they are this year and last year. So I thought 3 years ago they were done. I think that's the one team in the league where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. But I've watched Oklahoma City. When I watch them, it seems to be two guys. Those two guys. And,
is that enough?
And everybody else is just sort of there.
In the league? You know. It's enough against most people, Tony. Is it enough against San Antonio?
Maybe not. Apparently, the Minnesota Timberwolves are now open to the idea of trading Kevin Love before he becomes a free agent at the end of next season. Wilbon, if you were the Timberwolves, would you trade Love this summer rather than see him walk for nothing?
Yes, for two reasons, Tony. One, I don't want to see him walk for nothing. I want to trade him. I want to get something back. Whether I look to Golden State, and I have a package that might include David Lee and Harrison Barnes, whether I look to Chicago and it might be a package involving Taj Gibson. But here's the other reason I trade him. And don't get me wrong. I love Kevin Love. I want to see him as a Bulls fan on the Bulls. But, Tony, you can miss the playoffs every year with another cast.
That's right.
I mean, it's not, people say, is Kevin Love a franchise player? Not yet. He's a terrific player. I want him on my team, but we can go another direction. We may need to go another direction, and you didn't sign him for long term. You could have locked him up and avoided this nonsense, and you didn't do it. So, yes, they should trade Kevin Love. And if I'm Kevin Love, I say I'm not signing. It's been fun. I got to go.
People would say that Kevin Love is the answer to all of your questions, but as you point out, he's been in the league for 6 seasons. He's never played in a single playoff game. You look at his numbers. They're spectacular. 26 points a game, 12 rebounds a game, 4 assists. Now, I would trade him for anybody in the draft if I could, because there's nobody in his draft. I don't care if it's Parker. I don't care if it's Wiggins. They're not going to have those numbers.
No, they're veteran players.
They're not going to have those numbers at all. And I think Kevin Love on a lot of teams is somebody that could help you win a championship. But if you think he can do it by himself, no, he can't. And even Ricky Rubio, this sort of surprised me, came out and said he's not the vocal leader that we need on this team. I thought he was a pretty good talker, so I was surprised at that. But if they're not wild about him in Minnesota, it has to temper your judgment in this.
Well, yeah, the leadership thing is interesting. There's a lot more than talking that needs to be involved, but there's some doing. Look, Kevin Love excels in those tangible places, Tony, that you want an all-star player, a guy you're going to pay $16, $17 million a year to excel. But there's some intangibles. But there's a lot of teams out there. And he has made it known, apparently, there's just a couple of teams, places where he wants to go, where he knows he can play with other all-star caliber players. That's going to be important. I think it's going to be one of the big stories between the lottery and the draft, because I think Minnesota needs to do something. I think they know he's not going to stay and sign an extension. I think that's not in the cards. Curious back-and-forth story in the NFL, Tone, where Robert Mathis, right here in Indianapolis, is offering up what he feels is evidence he did not take the banned substance Clomid to enhance his performance. Mathis and his doctor say the Colts veteran defensive end was prescribed Clomid for benefit of fertility effort with his wife, who is due to give birth any week now. But Clomid has also been used as a masking agent by steroid users, which the league views with suspicion. And there is that matter of the league leading 19.5 sacks last season. So, Tone, what do you believe?
Robert Mathis has not convinced me. All the things his agent said, they have not convinced me. I'm not saying he's lying or anything like that. I'm saying that the burden of proof is always on the player. He knows that. Been in the league a long time. He knows that everything he puts in the system he has to account for. And the rules are pretty clear on this. Maybe his agent failed him. Maybe the Colts failed him. I don't know this.
Maybe the doctor?
Maybe, although the doctor is quoted as saying, I didn't tell him he could take this and nothing would happen. I mean, it's one of those circumstances where you sort of say, it seems unfair at the moment, but he has conceded that the responsibility was his.
Yeah, Tony, I find this particularly confusing in this way, and I don't know Robert Mathis personally. And so, sometimes you get a feel for someone. I don't have that in this case. But whatever side I listened to most recently, I'm going, well,
yeah.
That sort of makes sense. Mathis sounds like he's being very sincere here. This is not just plausible. It's completely understandable if that was the effort and you wound up with this. I don't know. What did I just take this morning that might be in my system that might allow me or force me to fail a drug test if I was tested by somebody?
But you're not in the NFL, and you're not told all the time that everything you take you have to account for. We see this with other athletes. We see this with swimmers, that incredible cluster of asthmatic swimmers all the time. Manny Fernandez, I think at one point, do I have this right? That Manny did this? Manny Ramirez, not Manny Fernandez. I'm sorry. And he said that he took fertility drugs, and nobody believed him. So the other point to this that I think needs to be made is that the NFL acted swiftly here and enforced its rule, but the owner of that team is still up on a DUI and 4 felony counts of illegal drug possession.
They didn't act so swiftly with him, did he?
No.
Where's Roger Goodell?
No.
Roger, can't hear you.
California Chrome won the Preakness over the weekend, making a big move at the top of the stretch. This puts the horse in position to become the first Triple Crown winner since affirmed in 1978. The stewards at Belmont today caved in and agreed to allow the horse to run with that gigantic nasal breathing strip. Wilbon, didn't Belmont do the right thing?
This is such a joke. This is such a fraud. Let's just change the rules so we can help produce a Triple Crown situation. You know what I heard when I first heard this story? I think I left Reality a voicemail message, and it said, well, so when did Kornheiser start working for the Belmont? Did Tony start working for the Belmont and make this ruling so he can produce this fraudulent, tainted Triple Crown?
I don't think
this
is
the biggest bunch of junk. No, so you can arrange all kinds of situations and help when you need a Triple Crown. But they've had a previous horse, Tony. They didn't allow to do this. Let's change the rule for Kornheiser.
Well, that was
I'll
have another. That was a couple of years ago, and the horse was scratched anyway. To me, Mike, this goes back to Robert Mathis to me in this sense. Does this breathing strip, is that performance enhancing? And if it is not, if it's like blinkers or anything else, then let every horse do it. If you're asking me, do I think money is involved, when they had a crowd of 120,000 at the Preakness, and if you don't run this horse, you're going to get 40,000. If you do 150,000, sure. But the essence of horse racing is money. I don't think it makes him a fraudulent horse unless this thing helps the performance.
Not a fraudulent horse, a fraudulent race, a fraudulent event. It's manipulated because of money. It's tainted. It's garbage.
It's not tainted.
You're rolling over. If this was an event you didn't like, or if this was a player you didn't like,
it's not.
It's fraud.
That's not true. It's not fraudulent at all unless that's performance enhancing. The horse has won 6 times in a row with it, but also the jockey Espinosa's been on him 6 straight times as well.
Let's change it. Let's let him have some drugs.
You hate them.
I hate this.
Let's take a break.
Garbage. It's a fraud. It's tainted.
Coming up, the play that took out Montreal's best player, fair or foul.
Let's talk about real sports again. It's tainted reality. Plus, premature celebration, and one young baseball fan shows how it's done because he's not a fraud.
I have done this with Manny Fernandez 1,000 times in my life.
It's a fraud.
One's football, one's baseball.
When it comes to mailing and shipping, there just aren't a lot of good choices. You could go to the post office, but that takes up too much time. You could lease a postage meter, but that's too expensive. Luckily, there's a better way. Stamps.com. With Stamps.com, you can buy and print official U.S. postage for any letter or package right from your desk using your own computer and printer. You'll even get special postage discounts you can't find at the post office. And with Stamps.com, you get more features than a postage meter at a fraction of the cost. And right now, you can get this special offer from Stamps.com when you use promo code PTI. A no-risk trial, plus a $110 bonus offer that includes a digital scale and up to $55 free postage. Don't wait. Go to Stamps.com, and before you do anything else, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage and type in PTI. That's Stamps.com, promo code PTI.
Mail time, and here's how it works. Wilbon goes on the road, and I am forced to read everything, and I do so with great cheer. Let me get the first one.
Oh, poor baby.
Do the Canadiens have a legit beef with Chris Kreider about the play that injured Carey Price?
Tony, I understand why the Canadiens are completely disconsolate about Price's injury. He has been spectacular in these playoffs, most notably Game 7 against the Bruins in Boston, where he played as well as any goaltender I think I've ever seen. But I think this is an accident. I think it's reckless, maybe, but I don't think there's intent. A guy goes down, and he just wants to score a goal. In that situation, why would you be trying to hurt someone and take away from what you're doing? I understand why the Canadians are upset, though.
I, too, thought it was innocent, but I will quote now from Brandon Prust of the Canadians, who said, quote, "We're in the NHL. We know how to not put our skates, out first when we fall. We call that accidentally on purpose." So they're upset.
They are.
The profound impact on this is going to be greater than Serge Ibaka. I mean, come on.
No question.
Their backup goalie is not in league with this guy. So
Tony, they're going out with a guy who could have led them to a championship, and now he's done. And
That's right.
Backup goaltender in the NHL is not where you want to be in the conference finals.
Should the Diamondbacks expect to win now that Tony La Russa is running the front office?
I don't know about expect to win. The Diamondbacks have won, and it's great when you get a guy like Tony La Russa talking about credibility. Okay, so he comes in there. You would think the first thing he'd do is identify what in the world is wrong with Arizona's pitching staff, particularly the starters, that they have the worst ERA in baseball, a National League staff. So you start there. We know he knows how to build a team, but expect, I think that's a little bit much. Hope.
I'm not all in on this. I mean, to me, this is like Phil Jackson goes to the Knicks. He was a great bench coach. Now he's going to sit in an office and they expect him to rebuild the team. If he sat on the bench, I would say, sure, he can do that. If Tony La Russa was a field manager, sure, he can do that. I don't know about the front office. Let's take Theo Epstein. Theo Epstein built a great winner in Boston, went to your Cubs. How's he doing so far? And he's actually a GM.
Exactly. It's the beginning of year 3, but he has, Theo Epstein had a bigger rebuild than probably Arizona.
Well,
Nobody has bigger builds.
Arizona stinks.
Arizona stinks now, Tone, but I don't know that it's that far for them to get back up there. You sound very skeptical about this. I'm not as skeptical as you are. I think La Russa knows what he's doing.
Skeptical.
Okay.
Do you feel any kind of bad for the Spanish cyclist who celebrated one lap too soon?
No. I'm laughing at this dope because he feels he has won. And we know this because he crosses what he thinks is the finish line in the final lap. He's mugging. He's mugging. Yeah, baby, yeah. Except, oh, wait, see the people behind him?
Yeah.
They're hustling because they know there's another lap to go. No, I blame the competitor. If you don't know the circumstances of your own event, your own sport, you're dope. Get out. I'm laughing. Like Jean Vanderbilt, I'm laughing at him.
I feel a little bad because he doesn't get a sniff of the yellow jersey. He finished 56th. And this thing will be shown on television, I don't know, for the next 20 years. There was another incident like this over the weekend in an 800-meter race. A guy went to the tape like this and got nosed out. But at least that guy was an Olympic gold medalist. This guy's a schlemiel. Who is this guy? I mean, what's he going to win now? What do you think?
It's like 56. When you don't know how many outs there are. You don't know what the circumstances are in an inning or something. This is what you do.
I feel a little bit.
Be aware. Wake up. Get your head in the game, as they used to say when we were kids.
Would you be proud of your kid for pulling a switcheroo on a foul ball?
I think the answer is absolutely yes. I'd be proud. I mean, how sly, right? Okay, so you see the kid has the foul ball here, and it's cool for the third base coach to, and he, gives it to the hotties. Yeah. Gets the smile, gets the wink. This kid is great. I'm going to take this and use it as instructional video with young Matthew for the next couple of years. I love this kid.
So,
this kid is so smooth.
You think this kid is, as Sade would say, the smooth operator, right?
Smooth operator. Love it.
Well, he was interviewed after this whole incident in which he said that he got a lot of baseballs, that the third base coach kept flipping them to him all the time. So he's a hoarder of baseballs. He should have been giving them away. If he's trying to get a date, fine. But now he's exposed on national television as a charlatan. His malfeasance is there for everybody to see. I mean, I think this will haunt this kid for the rest of his dating life.
This is like saying because we know Jeter gives out gift baskets that the result is not the same.
Do not compare
you are a
this
dope. 12-year-old
kid to Derek, number 2.
He's on his way.
Not female. Time for a break, but on the way, Michael Sam's reality show gets put on hold.
Plus, my Blackhawks win Game 1, Tony, and the Tigers unveil a new look.
Look at that look. That's scary. That's really scary. Happy time, people. Happy 38th birthday, Kevin Garnett. Because of the Nets' large yes, Garnett will be paid $12 million guaranteed next season to probably contribute no more than he contributed this season, which is to say not much. Garnett's been a Hall of Fame player, but not at the moment. Wilbon, Garnett has already made over $300 million. Any chance he'll hang it up?
Tony, you know what the only thing better than $300 million is? $312 million. I guess he could. He's going to be great in the booth when he decides to go.
Happy anniversary, Miguel Cabrera. On this day last year, you hit 3 home runs against the Rangers. Cabrera started slowly this season, but he's tearing the cover off the ball lately. The Tigers have the best record in baseball, and after sweeping the Red Sox in Boston, the team tweeted out this alarming picture of Zuba's madness. Wilbon turned down for what?
Tony, you remember Zuba's madness? It was mostly in the 80s for most of us, but these things are meant to be worn as pajamas or in your man cave, not out in public.
Happy trails to Michael Sam's reality show. The Oprah Winfrey Network announced that it is placing the Sam reality show on hold. This is in recognition that Sam's main goal should be to make the squad, and the obvious potential for distraction here has been acknowledged.
Yeah, Tony, this seems like a good compromise. You put it on hold, you wait and see how things go, like, say, making the team, actually having an NFL team to call home. So they got some time for this.
Trying to find out where we messed up, reality.
The Memphis Grizzlies have fired their CEO, which is interesting because Bill Simmons just tweeted that he's hearing that if the Grizz totally clean house, the Memphis owner will look to trade for, Wilbon, you ready? Tom Thibodeau.
Yeah, I'd heard that one too.
And then give him a Stan Van Gundy split president and coach deal. What do you think of that?
I think Jerry Reinsdorf's going to have something to say about that, and the draft pick could be involved, but we're way ahead of ourselves.
Big finish quickly. The Blackhawks beat the Kings in Game 1. What impressed you the most?
Corey Crawford, 1-9-0 in the playoffs. Nobody even knows how great he is. Alex Ovechkin will miss at least one game after injuring his right leg in the World Championships. Concern, Tone?
Yeah, you have to get a definitive diagnosis from your own doctor. Brian Cashman tells Buster Olney CC Sabathia will be out until at least July. Is that a big deal?
Yeah, injuries. The Yankees have 3 new guys in their rotation. That's not good. Brandon Marshall announced a new 3-year, $30 million extension with the Bears while on The View. You like that?
I do, because he gave $1 million to the cause of mental health, and that's why he was appearing there. Last one. Tiger said today, too soon to set a date for his return to golf. Bye-bye, U.S. Open.
If he's just chipping and putting still, Tone, it sounds like bye-bye to me.
We're out of time. We'll try and do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
And I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. Check out the PTI podcast on iTunes.
George Norcross, shout out.
PTI. The next big thing. The next new kid. The next overnight sensation. The next rookie. One to watch. The next Hall of Famer. The next intimidator. The next 6-time. The next king. Next. Who's next? Let's find out. Names are made here. The History 300 at Charlotte. Saturday at 2:30 Eastern on ABC.